Hey everybody, this is Mark Vogel checking in for the last time, unfortunately for ACTE 632 and also the online endorsement program. Overall, I thought this program has been first class. I mean, I think I've learned a lot of tools and strategies to take with me when I eventually teach in an online course in the near future. As you can see, I chose to do a screencast again for this presentation. I thought this tool is very easy to use every time I've used it, and it seems to be nice how you can kind of stop and pause throughout the presentation as well and capture whatever you want from the screen. Finally, I'm going to do a little kind of how celebrities do a thank you when they win awards at a award show, since I'm not quite at that status. But first, I'd like to thank my students for driving me every day to be a lifelong learner, to try to find new strategies that I can incorporate in my algebra classes. I'd also like to thank my classmates that I've been with throughout the endorsement program. I think this program has really allowed us to really provide feedback with each other, to learn with one another and share what we've experienced to help one another just move forward. And last, I'd like to thank my professors at Millersville. They really did a nice job making us kind of guide our own learning and make it more meaningful to ourselves rather than being forced to do certain assignments. So I thought that was very beneficial as well. To design and development, the first competency is the online teacher knows the primary concepts and structures of effective online instruction and is able to create learning experiences to enable student success. And when it comes to my weather unit I created here for my Algebra 1 courses, I created a unit where students were learning about exponents. And I remember learning in ACT 632 that you really want to kind of minimalize distractions. So I think one thing I tried to do was kind of keep it clear and not really distractions for the course for the students as they're learning here. As they click on day one, right there they have the objectives, the power to a power. That's what they're going to be learning that day. I really try to kind of keep it clear for them. When it comes to the online teacher understanding and using a range of technologies, so when I go back to the unit here, here day one, I had YouTube videos, Khan Academy videos for the students to view for the first day. And then on the second day, they were required to make a Snapchat story of themselves solving a problem using iMovie. So again, there's different tools in here, technology tools, promoting the students throughout learning. Finally, the online teacher is cognizant of the diversity of student academic needs and incorporates accommodations into online learning environment. I actually created a video in one of the courses that had closed captioning on it, and that I unfortunately could not find. But that would be for any student with auditory impairments. So on the bottom of the video, it has all the closed captioning of what I was actually saying throughout, which was pretty neat. Also, I remember doing this assignment in ACTE 634. It was Module 4, where we chose a strategy, and the one I chose was alt text, and that's where you can actually take an image and create audio to perform for students who are visually impaired. So that's a great thing, especially for when you're trying to show an image. It can really relate to any content area. As we all know, students sometimes learn better auditory, visually, so we try to show visuals, and if you can add any type of auditory on top, that the students who have vision impairments, it will really benefit them. Under delivery really focuses on students interacting with one another, participating, working together. And in my exponent unit here, I'll have students create that Snapchat story I just mentioned, and this is something where I could have them, give feedback to each other, comment on each other's videos. That's one thing I've learned throughout this course, is that it's not always the instructor providing feedback that has to happen. It can also be peers providing feedback and what they like. And a strategy that I took from feedback from one of my peers was when Shannon mentioned here, she used praise, question, polish, where she gave me one thing that she really admired about my unit. There was a question she had for me, and then there's one thing maybe I could just touch up, which is really great. I know in athletics with coaching in high school, a lot of coaches try to start with. They try to praise, then they try to give a teaching moment, but then they try to end with some type of praise, which really helps students with their confidence. So I really liked how she gave me some suggestions, but she was also very cautious and caring when she made them as well. The letter B under delivery is discussing teacher using clear expectations, prompting students, and giving them regular feedback. I think most of us probably do a very good job with providing feedback. As we can see, Ollie did a pretty nice job with this. He would let us know what we did well, how we could improve under the grading section on D2L. When it comes to clear expectations, I think that's very, very important in online courses. I know just from my experience as a student, when I wasn't quite sure, I kind of had to reach out to the professor, and sometimes it takes a day or two to get back. So one thing I know in the Millersville courses they did for us was they provided us with a lot of examples of what they kind of wanted. They gave us a lot of freedom as well. But under the Snapchat story, I actually created my own video, and this is the problem that I will be simplifying. I think that's something that will help the students kind of get off to the ground and running. And then also on day 3, I was having them create a just kind of a visual with something that represents the problems representing their hobbies and interests. And here I created one with just things that represent Philadelphia sports teams, which are something I have a very big passion for. And I think that's something that will really be more meaningful for the students. They don't just see it using the variables in algebra. Finally, we talk about the teacher being cognizant of the diversity of student academic needs and incorporating accommodations. And this is something the teacher can kind of find out early on in the course, what accommodations they need to provide for the students. I already discussed about the alt text and the closed captioning on the YouTube video I created. And also just kind of allowing student choice, let them make it meaningful to themselves, kind of like how I did the exponent project where they can pick things that relate to their hobbies. And also in the Snapchat video, they can make up the problem themselves. They're not told what they have to do. That makes the learning process more enjoyable. And we're on to the granddaddy of them all, assessments. I know we've had a lot of good discussion throughout the courses on assessments. People were sharing the breakdown of how much tests accounted for in a student's grade compared to quizzes, compared to homework. And each district was different, which is kind of unique to see different perspectives. And this topic right here relates directly to our inclement weather unit, where we were required to create assessments here. So first I created a pre-assessment, which was actually very easy to create, and oops, I accidentally showed the scores there, but I think it's very meaningful for a teacher to do this. You can get very good information what the students know already. And also, I had a quiz on here. Again, it was mostly multiple choice, which I know as a teacher that's a little bit easier to grade. You can see when the students attempted, which is kind of nice. The one thing my sister did, which I thought was kind of neat, was I could actually go back and see what I got right and wrong. So I'm not just answering questions and I have no clue what I answered. It's kind of, you go back and you're like, oh wow, I actually learned something that day. And I think also to keep a pre-assessment short and kind of sweet. That way, I think if it's too long, students are going to get a little turned off by what they're doing, and they might not try their best, or they might just rush through to get it done. So, and the last 2 parts with the assessments were, the first one was creating assessments that are geared toward the learning goals, which on each day I had the objectives which the students were learning. So that's kind of where I ended up making my quiz off of. And finally, using data is the one thing I use for my pre-assessment, kind of understanding what the students learn, what they already know, where you need to spend more time. So that's where that information can be beneficial. And the fourth and final domain is emerging trends and professional responsibility. As well it is to be professional in a face-to-face classroom, it's just as important in an online classroom as well. I think we all know that anything you put out on the internet, even if you delete it, it's still out there. So we need to be careful with what we put out there and say. And we need to model appropriate behavior online for our students. One of the experiences I had was we were promoted to actually cheat on a quiz we took, and I thought that was really neat. I researched the 10 cleverest ways to cheat on a test, and it was interesting to see how students were um, writing answers inside of a plastic wrapper on a water bottle. Um, Another one used a smartphone, but this is something we collect in my school, so that's not a big deal with smartphones. And that's something they could be using at home on an online course. Um, I also reached out to my sister who's in the course to ask her what she did on the quiz. So it was really interesting. And there's another thing I found where students can actually use a system to defeat plagiarism, which was a little scary to see that, especially if you are a English teacher with papers. But I truly believe that our students will be more honest and less likely to cheat if we just make the learning environment more fun and engaging for them. If they see that we take a lot of pride in teaching them and that we make it fun and they can kind of guide their learning and make and do what kind of learn on things that make them happy rather than force them what to learn, I think they will be much less likely to cheat, and I think we'll have less problems with this online. Mentions the online teacher interacting professionally with colleagues, parents, and other members of this community. And I think in my Schoology syllabus here, I included for the online course where the parents can view as well. And this kind of just sets the tone, so the students and the parents as well can kind of get to know who you are. And I think first impressions go a long way, even in an online course. It kind of just sets up everyone for a more enjoyable semester if the teacher is setting up a professional manner. And finally, for part C, I think a way to arrange media and content to help students transfer knowledge. I think one way that with the online courses here, they have a help section, and I think we've had tutorials there before. There's text suggestions. I would make sure to provide a sort of like a tutorial on how to use Schoology if that's the tool my students were learning on. Also, the help section on the interactive weather unit that I created would also be an area where we can help students, and I think just kind of showing them how to submit their answers and ways to kind of communicate with one another throughout the Schoology site would be beneficial as well.